What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Powered by Primus, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Unicron and the raid that we have coming to you guys very soon. Now, before I dive into anything talking about the raid and all that other stuff, I want to just really get into what a raid is and really kind of how you get that feeling when it comes to playing into a card game versus into playing where most of them are going to be like in video games. So now usually what a raid is you have to go into this very specific big level to fight a big boss, and whether it's going in there with a bunch of players to try to take down one boss or going in with smaller numbers of players and going in from like different sequences, different phases to go, oh, we got to go to this one room, collect some resources, get to the next room, fight a mini boss, and then we get to the big man. We're going to have a lot of that same feeling when it comes to the Unicron raid. The way that we're going to achieve this in the card game is that you're going to have to go through 3 phases before you, as the players going up against Unicron, can win the game. But if you don't obviously make it that far, then Unicron is going to take you down. So it's really fun to be able to go through these phases, through these steps. You and your teammate going up against the Unicron player are going to have to do a lot to really communicate and try to take advantage of it. So I'm going to be talking about pretty much everything with this raid. I'm not going to be giving you guys a lot of stats or giving you guys a lot of abilities because I want to leave a lot of that a surprise for when we do a big release. Now again, we are in the final stages of testing, to be honest with you. We've been playing it a lot, we've been playing with a lot of different people, and we've been getting some really awesome feedback, and the number one thing that we get back is, it's just awesome. Which is really what we were trying to do, is make sure that we have a lot of fun with this. There are 2 things that we wanted to accomplish when it came to designing the Unicron raid. One is that it needed to be very fun and thematic, and then 2, it needed to be replayable. Now with this, that means that it is going to be a 1 versus 2 new multiplayer format. It is going to be the 1 player who's rocking the Unicron deck, and then 2 people who are going to be going up against the Unicron player. Now, those 2 players are very much encouraged to work together when it comes to taking down this raid boss. Now, it is going to be a multiplayer format, so obviously it is going to take 3 people. We tried to have it to where you could play with less people, more people, but trying to balance Unicron with trying to not have a balanced number of players is really difficult. So we did set it up this way. You can have 1 person controlling 2 decks up against the Unicron player if you can only get access to 2 people at a time, or obviously if you get more, then you guys can swap who's playing the Unicron player and all of that really good jazz, because it is an insane amount of fun and you're going to want to both play him and play against Unicron. Now when it came to talking about making sure that these were replayable, the reason that we wanted to come up with that is we want to have any preset decks. It would have been kind of bad if we had done presets. We would have been able to really rock on the theme of what we were trying to do and maybe make it feel a lot like the original movie. However, we wanted it to be able to, if you needed to do a pickup game, if you're at a game store and someone just wanted to jump in, they can jump in with whatever deck that they currently have on them, because when it comes to talking about the players who are going against Unicron, all you got to do is bring a standard 25-star team and deck. Nothing changes for the players going up against Unicron whatsoever. So you're able to sit down, you can test any deck that you want to go up against this character. Not to mention, if you want to swap, it's an easy to be able to go into playing one of the characters and someone else can jump into the Unicron player's seat. Now the setup is just that simple. Just sit down and play some games. However, if you're the Unicron player, there's going to be a few things that you have to do before you get this set up. You are going to be running this raid through the course of 3 phases like we talked about. In phase 1, here we go, you do have to go up against Scourge and his sweeps. Once you do take down Scourge and the sweeps, boom, you will immediately initiate phase 2, when you're going to go up against Galvatron and Cyclonus. After you beat Galvatron and Cyclonus, Unicron's going to be here, and you are then going to have to beat Unicron. It's going to be really exciting trying to go through these 3 phases, as there are a lot of things that happen during these phases which are only going to be unique to the raid. The first thing is that we have new battle cards that you've never seen before that are going to be unique for the raid, that are going to come in with each phase. Some cards are going to start in phase 1, so you can get access to some really cool things, some cards that give chaos counters, and we'll talk about those here in just a second, and then some specific upgrades. Now once you get into phase 2, you're going to bring in new cards and shuffle them into your deck for just phase 2, which is going to give you access to some new really cool stuff just for phase 2. So instead of having a sideboard and be like, oh man, and then try to make an entire deck, things got weird, you just get to shuffle them in, and if you see them, great. If you don't, you're still in a really good spot with your deck. And then phase 3, we're going to jump into Big Man. Unicron's going to come on and hit the table, and you are going to shuffle in more cards. They're going to be associated for Unicron himself, and you are going to be able to do some really devastating things. Now I mentioned chaos counters. So the chaos counters is our clock that we decided that we wanted to build into the raid. One thing that what happens when you go into a lot of raids, you have a time limit or something that needs to be done within a certain time before you just auto lose the game. Maybe you have to go collect something from a bad guy, or you have a certain time limit to take down a bad guy. So we wanted the two players to feel pressured when it comes to playing the raid. The last thing we want you guys to do is to kind of just sit back, turtle up. We wanted it to be a go, go, go kind of match. So there is a chaos counter clock that is put on Unicron at all times. It says for him specifically, at the beginning of each turn, you get to add 2 chaos counters to Unicron and draw an additional card. So he has a pocket processor, I can't talk this morning, built into him himself, so he's getting some insane card advantage, which makes sense, right? He's one player going up against 2, he should be able to draw an additional card. But these chaos counters, it also says, at the start of your turn, if you have 20 or more chaos counters, you win the game. It is over. Doesn't matter how far your opponent gets to, if you get to those 20 counters, then you just straight up win. And don't be worried if you're like, oh man, that just seems insane. How are we supposed to rush that? Well, there are going to be ways for you to remove chaos counters from Unicron as well. So you're going to have to come up with the perfect balance between trying to move through the phases and remove chaos counters. Now, even after you get through the phase 1 and phase 2, Unicron is going to flip and he no longer gains chaos counters, but now he gets to use those for very special abilities. Again, we're going to leave all that up to a surprise for when it comes to our big release, but believe me, if you're going up against Unicron, you want to keep those tokens down, because if you let him get too high, you're probably going to lose the game. Now, like I said, we wanted to really build this into the theme of Unicron himself. Tons of people have seen the movie. You always want to just really kind of go back to it. We wanted to put a lot of nostalgia into the game, and that's why you're going to be going against those specific characters in each phase, and there are going to be cards that are going to have a lot of the same feeling from a lot of the different things that went down in the movie. So it is really, really exciting, and like I said, there's a lot of nostalgia in playing it, both against Unicron and for Unicron, which are really, really cool. There are tons of unique battle cards that are going to be coming out with this specifically, and also all of these characters, Galvatron, Cyclonus, the Sweep, Scourge, all of that, are going to also be playable outside of the Unicron raid. One thing that we wanted to do when it came to designing them was talking about a way for them to be played outside of the raid. Now, they are going to be far better for playing with the raid because they are designed that way. But even like Scourge specifically has a cool ability that can go with another team. The Sweeps, they're bad. Don't play them outside of the raid. And then when it comes to Cyclonus and Galvatron, we know that they are very highly wanted characters within the community. So you are going to be able to put them in your decks outside of them. And I will tell you, you're going to want to play with Galvatron for sure. Absolutely. Cyclonus is awesome. If you are a fan of doing a bunch of combo stuff for the character, you're going to love Cyclonus. But Galvatron is awesome, and I guess I'll spoil one thing. He's 15 stars. It's really cool. Now, I will also say that there are other versions of these characters coming, so don't think that these are the only ones. Again, these are more specifically designed to be put into the raid, but you can test them outside of the raid. You guys are going to see some other stuff here soon, which you guys will be very, very excited about as well. So we really wanted to build a lot of this in all to the game. So there is another mechanic that's going to happen, is that once you do get to phase 3, as the players, you guys are going to get a stratagem. I'm going to leave the name blank. If you guys can guess the name of the stratagem, I want you guys to go down to the comment section below, and I want you to drop a comment if you guys can name it. And if you get it right, I'll give you a little heart. And essentially, this stratagem is going to give both you and your opponent a specific benefit for fighting Unicron, because there was a specific thing that really helped you actually beat the guy. So the next thing that we wanted to incorporate was a way for it to feel more like a team going up against Unicron. So the way that we came up with a few things is obviously a lot of communication. You're sitting next to the person. It's really weird because usually in this card game, like, you're sitting next to people and you're like, and you don't want to talk to anyone because you're just trying to play a game. However, this one, we want you to do the complete opposite. We want you communicating with your teammate at all times to try to figure out what the best to do. And the one way that we came up with to be able to really pan that out is those players at the beginning of each of their turn, you get to decide who gets to go first. So it's not like clockwise where it's like, okay, I go, you go, he goes, blah, 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 blah. This goes at the start of our turn. Okay, hey, do you want to go first? Oh, hey, you got this guy who can do a bunch of pierce damage. Let's have you go first. Oh, hey, we really want to protect your big guy for when we get to Unicron, so let me throw out this little bot. You guys get to have a lot of conversation. You guys get to decide who goes first. Now, the turns will always be the same. If we decide for me to go first, to throw out this little guy, I still get my normal upgrade, action, flip, transform, whatever, and attack. So nothing changes through that sequence, and then my opponent will just draw, and then they will get to take their turn. So it's really fun to be able to make sure that you get to set it up correctly, because again, the Unicron deck is obviously going to be scaled higher, so it makes more sense going up against 2 players. Each phase will have a total of 25 stars across the Unicron players' teams. So you'll have to get through those 25 stars. The next 25 stars come out in phase 2, get through those stars, and then boom, big man Unicron comes out. So it has been a really, really fun ride designing these characters, man. Our team has killed it, honestly, when it came to putting all this stuff together. It feels so right, and it feels so good, and it just looks really, really beautiful. We've had tons of people who've played it and who just can't wait to come back and play a second round of it. So it's really, really good. I can't wait personally for me to go on the Facebook group or someone send me a link to someone with a video playing the Unicron raid. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Again, we're in just the final testings of it. There's just a few things that we wanted to make sure run really smooth, because obviously once we unleash it upon you guys, the results that we're going to get back are going to be drastically different. So it's going to be really, really cool. And as far as talking about a lot of other things that are being designed, I know you guys are all really curious about the arc, what we're working on, and you guys are going to see a lot of that here coming soon. We have another sneak peek coming for you guys, and then obviously we'll be able to give you some more of a official date when things do come out. We do have some really cool things that we're working on, character cards, characters that you haven't seen in the game, or characters that you have seen in the game and you wanted to see updated versions for, stratagems for old characters, stratagems for new characters, battle cards. We got it all, and it's coming to you guys very soon. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this little bit of a sneak peek, and I'm gonna leave you guys with a quick couple of pictures, and I'll see you guys later.